Welcome to the Displaced Diehards podcast, recorded at 2420 Studios in Owensboro, Kentucky. Download a new episode of the podcast every Friday at displaceddiehards.com. Follow us on Twitter at Diehards Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And as always, watch us Saturday at 10 p.m. on Time Warner, Channel 72. Yippee-ki-yay.
Displaced Diehards.
Displaced Diehards.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
We are Displaced Diehards.
Welcome to episode number 15 of the Displaced Diehards NFL podcast. I am your host, Stephen A. Turner, playing the part of Robbie Rage, alongside my tag team partner, Kenny Chaos, a.k.a. Brandon Ward. We're playing high voltage today. We're a WCW jobber tag team from the mid-90s.
Because our NFL teams
Awful.
suck.
Behind the big boards today, our super producer, Ill Bill Hardesty, and we'd like to thank also our TV producer for the Time Warner cable show, Big Raj Turner behind the camera there. What we got in store today, Mr. Ward?
We got a chock full show. We got guests including Drunk Bernie checking in, Dirty Kermit, who's always offensive. The Snake checks in. Thank God he's on the show again. Odinson, that should be a great one after that Packers-Vikings loss. And Aaron Hernandez checks in from county jail.
Sounds like a good idea for a show there. Let's go ahead and get into the Displaced Diehard mid-season trophies.
Mid-season trophies!
That's right. That's
Woo!
right. The energy is high. I don't know why, because I hate 90% of the people on this list that I'm about to give you.
Everybody that's on this panel or that it participates in this podcast, their team pretty much sucks at this point, so I don't know why there's that much energy in this. Yeah. Other than Gimp, who's a Patriots fan, so I guess maybe that was all him.
We need to go fish out some like Broncos, Chiefs, Packers fans and let them do the show and get rid of these bottom feeders. But we're going to kick it off right now with we'll start at the bottom, work our way up to the top. I'll start with rookies. I'll go with my defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go with Sheldon Richardson from my New York Jets, defensive tackle. I think he's been an impact player so far this year.
I had Sheldon Richardson as well.
Wow, same page. All right. And let's go to Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one really pains me to say it, but I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it like a man and give it to Eddie Lacy out of Alabama there.
I was going to say, with your reaction, I'm guessing you had the same as I had, as I predicted Eddie Lacy from your Green Bay Packers.
There it is.
He's a workhorse out there.
Yeah.
He's proven that some Alabama running backs don't suck. Right? Beast mode down there in Indy.
Change the dynamic of the team. That's right, Trent Richardson. We're talking to you.
Because you suck.
Yeah, he's definitely changed the dynamic there in Green Bay. If you try to do what you normally do and just stop Aaron Rodgers, this guy is he's gonna put it to you.
It was a perfect time to
workhorse.
It was a perfect time to bring some running backs in too, with all the wide receiver injuries. I mean, they need a running game this year.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be more dynamic with him taking the ball out of the backfield. But let's move on to defensive Rookie of the Year or defensive MVP. I'll go with that. How about I got Justin Houston out of Kansas City with 11 sacks. Their defense has just been beasting, leading them to an 8-0 start.
That's what I was leaning there too, but at the last minute I went Richard Sherman just because I think he's the best defensive back in football, and it's a passing league now. So, and their defense is literally what's carrying them. If you've seen any of the Monday night game, their offense is quite atrocious right now. Once they get Percy Harvin back, it might change a little bit. But they lost Sidney Rice for the year with a torn ACL, so they're gonna have to lean on him even more. And I think Richard Sherman is the best defensive back in football. He was on the Eagles.
Both guys, Houston and Sherman, power those teams. I mean, without the Chiefs' defense, I don't think they would be anywhere near 8-0 without them holding teams to under 15 points a game.
Yeah, my other honorable mention was Earl Thomas, the safety from Seattle. The defensive backfield in Seattle, they're just built to be a physical defense. I mean, they're built like linebackers.
And how about one? Here's one for you. This one's just for you.
I guess
Coach of the Year.
I'm guessing you've got the same here as me then.
Andy Reid. You got to give credit where credit's due. Going into a team that drafted number 1 overall last year, they're undefeated. I mean, I know a lot of that goes strictly on the play of the quarterback and the defense, but you have to give a mountain of credit to Andy Reid.
Hey, it's Fat Andy. Yep, he's my coach of the year, unfortunately. I mean, he's 8-0. He's the only undefeated team, and they won 2 games last year. So
yeah, this is like a take your medicine type.
Lose already, Kool-Aid man.
Just is what it is. I mean, I've swallowed it.
I do have to bring up the fact though, just to save a little bit of face here, that the Kansas City Chiefs have played a less talented schedule than the Alabama Crimson Tide have at this point.
Yeah, they haven't played. They haven't dove into the meat of their schedule, and I don't even know if there is going to be a meat at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think there's a meat to that schedule.
We're in week 9 at this point, and they're playing the Bills this week. So, I mean, they are on the road. It's not a gimme game by any means, but it's definitely a game they should win.
They got two coming up with the Broncos. That's when I'll make my official judgments of Kansas City.
Yeah, you'll see how good the defense really is when they're playing Peyton Manning. They've looked great so far. But speaking of Peyton Manning, on to the MVP. I mean, you really can't give it to anybody else. Going into the season, I thought it was down between. I took Tom Brady over Manning, and I said it was because he had less around him, and I thought they would have a better record. But I mean, at this point, it's Peyton Manning.
Yeah, the guy I took was right there too. I took Matt Ryan.
Oh.
Yeah. That worked out well. Worked out well, especially once Julio Jones went down. That was definitely not happening.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the topic, I mean, if you want to let's go ahead. Let's dive into. I mean, Peyton Manning's an obvious choice.
Peyton Manning's my MVP.
There's no reason
to
even really talk on it.
So the only one we had different was defensive MVP.
Yeah, and we were right there on the same page together. I had Sherman as my other guy. So, but if you most disappointing team, what how about that? I mean, you touched on it with Matt Ryan. It's got to be
Atlanta.
Atlanta. The Giants are up there, I'd say, pretty high on the list. I mean, for me, obviously, the Vikings. But, I mean, media-wise, you got to look at Atlanta.
Houston's got to be up there. Just with their quarterback situation. It went from a Super Bowl contender this time last year to just a mess.
Yeah,
absolutely. Andre Johnson looks old. Arian Foster looks beat up, and they're running through quarterbacks. And you now have Case Keenum as your quarterback.
Yeah, Matt Schaub's on his way out the door there. They don't look like they're a playoff team. Atlanta doesn't have anybody left at wide receiver. I mean, Harry Douglas is about all they have out there.
They were trying to get rid of Tony Gonzalez at the trade deadline, just giving up the season. Even Tony Gonzalez finally broke down. Was like, yeah, I guess I could maybe get traded.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you? You're not going to the playoffs.
He held out up until this week after they lost this week, and then finally once they lost this week, he had to give in.
Yeah, when you lose a game to the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, it's pretty much
my Arizona Cardinals.
The writing is on the wall, but that's gonna about just wrap it up for the midseason awards. It was a tough pill to swallow when we got.
Yeah, not a lot of Eagles or Vikings on this list, huh?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
and then talking about losers.
Then you get an ex-Eagle coach, Andy Reid, that we ran out of town, who now is undefeated, which is just even better. The MVP was, of course, Peyton Manning, a quarterback, and we got an MVP on this show. It's a quarterback. It's Kenny the Snake Stabler, and it's a new segment called Ask the Snake.
What's happening, baby? It's Kenny the Snake Stabler right here on the Displaced Diehards podcast, baby. Right here live, coming to you. Let me tell you, they put me out in the field to ask questions. I knocked it out of the park. They brought me in the studio to host. I knocked it out of the park. So what'd they do? They said, Kenny, you want your own segment? I said, hell yeah. Let them people ask me the questions on Twitter. So Brandon Ward, the host, he said, I'm going to ask you the question. I said, hell no. The Snake don't roll that way, baby. He's a Hall of Famer. So the Snake got on his Rolodex, baby, and he found the all-time Hall of Fame owner/GM, baby. Let's throw it out to Jerry Jones. Find me some questions on Twitter, Jerry.
Well, hello, Kenny. It's sure an honor to be here live in studio for the first ever Ask the Snake segment.
It should be an honor, baby. It's the Snake.
Well, it is. It's not as quite as an honor as being owner/general manager of the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely. It's got to be an honor. I wish I had some of your money.
Well, Snake, I offered you that one contract, but you turned it down for a boat instead.
Absolutely. The Snake can't play for Jerry Jones, baby. I used to hate your guts. But ever since, you've been paying my bills on the side, and we've been hanging out together, drinking mimosas on your big yacht, baby, we became good friends, and the Snake likes it.
It's been quite a time, Kenny. It's been such a joy to get to know you and Hulk Hogan.
That's right, baby. Me and the Hulkster, baby. We've been flexing out 24-inch pythons for years together, baby. So what do you got? You fish some questions off Twitter for the Snake?
Kenny, I got some Twitter questions here at Ask the Snake hashtag from Broly's dad, 72. He said, Kenny, how did you feel when you weren't given the role of Grizzly Adams, but instead got the small part of John?
Well, how the hell you think the Snake felt, baby? He went from first-string quarterback to backup. It don't feel no good, I can tell you that. That actor Gene Edwards that got the part of Grizzly Adams, he wasn't half the actor of the Snake. He must have been down on his knees with that producer, baby, because you already know the Snake was the best actor on the set. Hell, I made that movie. Even in a supporting cast role, the Snake was the man, just like he always is, baby. Go ahead and fire off the next question.
I'm sorry, Kenny. I was busy watching replay of last week's game where we blew the game to the Detroit Lions.
That's because you got a half-ass quarterback, baby, Tony Romo. He ain't nearly as good as the Snake. If you had the Snake in that game, there's no way. I would have scored 52 points in that game. The Lions turned the ball over 14 times.
Yeah, the next question comes from a man. His name is Spicy Mustard 270.
Spicy Mustard, huh?
Yes, and he says, how much does it cost to have a special edition Lexus detailed?
Oh, that son of a bitch asked me that question. I can't believe it. Listen here, Spicy Mustard. Normally I like things spicy, but I don't really like this question very much because it brings up a very sore topic with me. All week long I've been trying to get the vomit out of my damn Lexus. And I'll tell you what, I ain't got one damn red nickel out of that son of a bitch, Bernie Kosar. Now, Bernie, I know you listening, baby. I know you listening, and I know you ain't got no damn money because of all the bunk-ass land deals you've been a part of because your drunk ass don't know what a good investment is these days. But I'll tell you right now, if you ain't got the money, you can at least give me a couple hours alone with your whore-ass daughter, you know, the prostitute, because Kenny the Snake will make her want to pay me when I'm done, baby. Come on, fire off the next question.
Wow, that was a very interesting topic there, Kenny.
Very interesting. I'd like to get a few minutes alone with Bernie's prostitute-ass daughter. She's pretty hot.
I must say that is quite inappropriate for this podcast.
Oh, come on, Jerry. You can join in. Me and you run the track team train on her, baby.
On to the next question, Kenny. This comes from at Nikki Nicole 0106. She said,
lady. We got a question from a lady. I like it.
She says she is married to correspondent Chris Riley and wants to know if you will now please her because he can no longer do the job.
Well, that's not a shocker, baby. I've been in the studio with Mr. Riley, and he just ain't getting the job done at home, baby. You want to go ahead and bring it on to the Snake? I'll hook it up. I'll send my driver over to pick her up. We'll take her out on the town. We'll do a little walk. You know, the Snake's Mr. Romance, baby. So go ahead and hit me up. Private message me at I'm the Snake, baby, and go ahead and hit me up on there, and we'll hook that up for you, Miss Riley.
Just so you know, Mr. Snake, Mr. Riley is a fan of the Dallas Cowboys.
That figures. That's why he's a damn loser. That's why she's wanting to come out with the Snake, a Super Bowl winner, because she knows what a winner looks like, baby, and she knows what a loser looks like. And it ain't no damn Dallas Cowboys, that's for sure.
Well, Kenny, I'm sorry you feel that way.
We're still buddies, though. Don't get me wrong. Don't worry, Jerry. Come on. Come with me now. Hell, I'll take you on the date with Miss Riley if you want to. All right, now, come on. We got time for one more question. Come on, Jerry. What you bullshitting me for over here? Let's go. The Snake. Time is precious to the Snake.
Kenny, you need to watch talking to the owner/general
sorry.
manager of the
I'll
Dallas
apologize.
Cowboys like that. I can pay to have your penis cut off.
I don't know about all that, baby, but I don't want to get left on shore when you take off in your big yacht. Kenny don't miss all them strippers out there on the yacht.
I'll have that thing.
Michael Irvin and all of his cocaine.
That's enough, Kenny. Time for the last question. I'm going to leave this set.
Go ahead. Spit it out, Jerry.
This is from Mr.
Quit letting your damn boyfriend over there clean your glasses off and go ahead and give me the question.
Mr. Snake Snabler, can you get a DWI on the Rainbow Road?
DUI on the Rainbow Road? That's unheard of, baby. You can't get no DUI on the Rainbow Road. There ain't no police in Asgard, baby. It's a happy place when you're not fighting wars and giants. Yeah, when the strippers took me up there last week, baby, we went out and fought some frost giants. We went back to the tavern, and we had some mead, and we went to the tavern wenches. We had a hell of a time. And when I came back on the Rainbow Road, I didn't see no police. So hell no, you can't get no DUI on the Rainbow Road or the Bifrost, none of that shit. That's gonna about do it, baby. I'm about tired of answering questions. Next about to break out the Busch Light, baby. I'm a little parched. My voice is starting to crack. Jerry Jones, get your ass out of here. Thanks for coming, baby. But you know what? Don't call me unless you got a party going on, unless you got Nate Newton hanging out, and I'll come over and hang out with Big Nate. You know how he rolls.
I also want to tell Brandon Ward that I am not a big horse's ass. This is Jerry Jones signing off for the Displaced Diehards podcast.
And this is the Snake, baby. Go ahead and look for me every week. Hit me up with questions on Twitter at I'm the Snake, baby. And I'll come down here and answer them. Because that's what I do, baby. I throw footballs over mountains, and I knock shit out of the park. Because I'm Kenny the Snake Stabler. Until next time, woo! At I'm the Snake, baby.
Thank you, Kenny the Snake, for the first ever installment of Ask the Snake, and thank you, Jerry Jones, kinda, but you are indeed a horse's ass.
That segment has money written all over it.
And if you got a question for the Snake, just hit us up on Twitter with hashtag Ask the Snake, and he will get the question.
Oh, yeah.
Let's keep it moving now. Going to get into the games of this week. Started off with the Monday night game that happened. The Seahawks at the Rams, 14-9 in a low-scoring game, and I didn't so much expect that from the Seahawks, but whenever Kellen Clemens was announced to be the Rams starter, I kind of figured they'd be a low-scoring game. And there's another guy that knew that all along, and if you remember in the preseason, he caught a little bit of hell for pretty much telling the truth about Kellen Clemens.
Absolutely.
He kind of let everybody know that Kellen Clemens was a horrible quarterback. It's our one and only Drunk Bernie, and he's joining us right now on the 2420 hotline. Drunk Bernie, you've been saying Kellen Clemens was not a good quarterback, and you were proved right. I figured you wanted to come out of the Goldschlager stupor to brag about your predicting ability on Kellen Clemens.
I called it. I told you that he was a bum. He's a horrible quarterback. It doesn't even sound like a quarterback. It sounds like a tight end. Threw it to Kellen Clemens on a crossing route and got a touchdown. He doesn't sound like a quarterback. He didn't even do anything. They almost won the game, but fucking Zach Stacy's the one who carried the weight.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Kellen Winslow or Kellen Winslow Jr. there, Drunk Bernie.
Yeah, close enough.
Obviously, the Rams don't believe in Kellen Clemens either, just like you don't believe in. They called Brett Favre this week to try to get him off the tractor. He's down there skeeter dicking down there.
You might be on their radar very soon, Drunk Bernie.
I'll answer the call. I got minutes on my phone. I'll pick it up. I'll come down there and throw some balls. I may not be able to chuck it over a mountain like Kenny the puked in your car stabler, but I'll freaking chuck it across the parking lot.
There were reports of Brett Favre running 5 miles and biking 25 miles every day. That's quite of an impressive feat for an old guy. What's your training regimen, Drunk Bernie?
Training regimen, I drink 2 raw eggs every morning like Rocky and punch sides of beef.
I know there's some Goldschlager in there somewhere.
I don't drink Goldschlager, you son of a bitch. I told you once. Scotch, if I'm not in the Hooskow.
I've seen the pictures.
Wow, this is Bernie needs to come and join us every week. I mean, just for every game.
Yeah,
this is fantastic.
We've gotten the great details of this game.
I mean, let's be serious. I mean, before the season even started, he tried to tell the Rams that Kellen Clemens was.
He warned you.
I told you. They put me on television to call the game, and I called it how I saw it, and he's a bum.
And they fined you for it, for God's sake. You were just trying to warn them.
Maybe the Browns might want to hire Bernie as the GM.
Listen to Kid the Snake. He's talking about the bad real estate deals. Yeah, I've had a few. I've had a lot of good ones too, baby. I don't care. I'll pay fines all day long. I don't care.
He also seems to love your daughter.
Everybody loves I love my daughter. She's a precious soul, and I'll thank you to not discuss her. It's a pending investigation.
We're going to move it on then. That was a hell of a recap of the Seahawks-Rams. I hope you got every detail you wanted of that game.
Fuck you guys.
We're going to let Bernie continue to drink. He's going to be coming up later to break down the Browns game, but thank you, Drunk Bernie.
Whatever.
Moving on now, Carolina Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are winless.
I got to regroup after that.
Yeah, Drunk Bernie, that's like a trip to Asgard right there.
Sure
That's
is.
Instant trip to Asgard.
It sure is.
Imagine that guy on the Rainbow Bridge.
My thoughts: Carolina and Tampa. All right, well, what do you got here? You got a team that can't win a game.
You got a team that sucks, and then you got a team that's kind of playing like we thought they should.
You got my 9-7 Carolina Panthers. That's right. They're coming on strong. They beat teams with a combined record of 1-47 so far. So congratulations.
Yeah, 31-13 in this game as Carolina gets the win over Tampa Bay. Cam Newton, it looks like they figured out a way to use Cam Newton a little bit better. Short passes, I think, is the way to work with him. Don't try to make him an Aaron Rodgers type guy. Let him use short passes. Let him run a little bit. He led the team in rushing with 50 yards. As D'Angelo Williams got a little bit nicked up there. I don't know. I think Carolina, if they can get a consistent offense where they're scoring 21, 24 points a game, that defense led by one of your favorites, Luke Kuechly, is solid.
Defense is just flat nasty. I knew that all along. I can't buy into them all the way though. Like I say, they have played. I mean, their 4 wins came against teams just awful. I mean, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, the Giants. I mean, these teams just are bottom feeders. So, but I mean, they're winning those games. I mean, congratulations to them. They're 4-3,
yeah, unlike our teams who loses those games.
I mean,
so
absolutely.
I'll take those wins.
I'll take 4-3, and
we just got beat by the Giants and Sling Blade. We didn't even turn him over.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers can win games with their defense. I mean, if they get into these slugfests, like I said in the prediction show at the beginning of the season, I thought their defense was good enough to carry them, and I thought their offense was talented enough to eke out some games. 8-8, 9-7 right there, and 9-7 in the NFC, unlike what we thought to start the year, might be good enough to make the playoffs.
Might get you a ticket to the playoffs. I know it's not the fantasy section of the show, but one guy kind of flies under the radar because he's not a starter. He's not even the number 2 guy. But Mike Tolbert, man, if you need a running back on bye weeks, you can pick him up. And if they get a goal line chance, they're going to run it with him.
It's old school all over again. I mean, Mike Tolbert is just Tolberting touchdowns.
Vulturing touchdowns. I had a running back on bye last week. I had Ray Rice, so I picked Mike Tolbert up, and he got me 11 points out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a fantasy running back, pick up Mike Tolbert. They're giving him a lot of looks on the goal lines.
On the other side of the
trying
ball,
to save Cam Newton.
I mean, on the other side of the coin, you got Tampa Bay, who's just
not pretty at
just
all.
Flat out, just lost. I mean, that team is just in complete disarray.
Terrell Reeves is calling out the coach, saying they don't know if the
Everybody's
players are buying
calling
in.
out the coach. I mean, no.
He's doing it publicly on like Sports Center and shit.
Schiano is just, I mean, he's completely lost the team. If you're Glazer and company down there, the ownership of the Buccaneers, you got to get this guy out of there. I mean, just try to save face a little bit and, try to see if you can rally something.
Only thing I can think of is how we always say we wish our teams would just continue losing when they're bad so they get a better draft pick. I'm thinking maybe they're going to keep him around just so they can continue to suck and the players won't play for him so they can get the quarterback in the draft that they want.
That's the only thing I could think
That's the only reason to still have that guy around. Everybody hates him.
Yeah,
the fans hate him. The players hate him. I'm sure the owners hate him because he sucks at his job.
I mean, he got rid
They're
of
winless.
He got rid of Josh Freeman. I mean, that's looking like a pretty good move at this point. But yeah, I mean,
that's your Josh Freeman. What are you talking about?
Thanks for that, Schiano, dumping your sewage on our lawn. But anyway,
speaking of sewage, let's move it down to the Jets. What a segue there.
Hey, Kenny the Snake Stabler, if he gives you one thing out of this show, if he's gave you one little nugget you can take and take it to the bank, and that's that Geno Smith is an every other game quarterback. The Jets look terrible every other week, and Geno Smith is pretty much the sole purpose for that.
Yep, it was his off week this week as predicted, and it was his off week as Cincinnati destroyed the Jets 49-9. Dirty Kermit, his threats went unabated. As
sure did.
He called out Nick Lachey, and Nick Lachey struck back.
He's laughing now.
40-point beat down to Dirty Kermit.
Another person that struck back is Andy Dalton. This guy's thrown like 9 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. I mean, he's playing some good football. We rode him pretty hard and asked him to step up to the challenge. And I mean, you say what you will about the Jets, but their defense has played good all year. And I thought so far so good in the last few weeks for Andy Dalton.
Yeah, the Jets are a top 5 defense in my opinion. They get after the quarterback, and that was what I was wanting to see in this game is whenever he's pressured under the pressure the Jets get off their defensive line, how he respond. And he had 5 touchdowns, and they put up 49 points. So I'd say he responded pretty damn well.
Yeah, Cincinnati is quietly turning the corner as a team that they were supposed to be in the preseason. They're getting better each week.
I think the last few weeks, instead of forcing it to AJ Green, I think they're going to go ahead and take that double coverage and not force it to him and find other guys.
Why would you? I mean, you have a great set of tight ends on the squad, and you have a running back and Giovanni Bernard who can kill you out of the backfield. I mean,
Jones had 4 touchdowns receiving.
Yeah, he can be. Yeah,
Mohamed Sanu is good.
Giovanni Bernard could be out of the backfield. What Reggie Bush is to Detroit. I mean, you got AJ Green and Megatron are pretty comparable. So I mean,
and then they've got the
sky's the limit.
They've got the short yardage back with the law firm in there for short yardage and goal line. So I mean,
they have all the ingredients as long as Dalton can play.
If he plays like that, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. They might be an AFC favorite.
If he can just manage it, I mean, Joe Flacco style, they're going to be solid on down the stretch. They got a very bright second half of the season.
The good news for the Jets fans, if you're a Jets fan, is that in the next game, Geno Smith should be good because he's an every other game quarterback. So his next game, he should be solid. So if you've got Geno Smith, start him the next game because he's usually good then. But speaking of Jets fans, there's one on our staff here at the Displaced Diehards that always gets his point across. It's Dirty Kermit. Let's send it to him for the thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals Jets.
From Kermit to you well to I hope you're absolutely.
It's Kermit the Frog here, a little pissed off this week. Jets got killed. You, Nick Lachey. I see you over there laughing at Kermit, thinking you're funny. Well, you know what? I'm still your girlfriend. She still loves this big green cock. In the NFL, you got to move on. So it's time to move on. We're moving on to a team that I can't stand, the New Orleans Saints. That little Sean Payton. Hate that little Mickey Mouse motherfucker. That quarterback, Drew Brees. What the hell's wrong with his face? Kermit will tell you what's wrong with his face. Kermit used his cheek as toilet paper and wiped his ass all over it. That's why he's got that big brown stain all over his face. You, Drew Brees. Our defense is going to eat your ass up. Thank God this game's in New York, not in that cesspool, New Orleans. Last time Kermit went to New Orleans, stayed down on Bourbon Street, walked out of there, my big green cock had sores all over it. My dick was in worse shape than Jay Cutler's at this point. Everybody heaping all this credit on Rob Ryan, talking about his defense. Fuck that. Every family's got a mongoloid, that big fat tub of shit, Rob Ryan. He ain't got nothing on Rex. Rex rules that family. Him and Buddy. Never was proven that Rob was even the son of Buddy. Look at him. Look at his hair. Fuck his hair. So I heard Ellen DeGeneres is from New Orleans. That pretty much wraps up that town. Bunch of herpes. Kermit don't want no part of that shit. I'm heading back to New York, where winners play. We'll see you this Sunday, New Orleans, you f***ing
Wow. Thank you, I think, Dirty Kermit. Let's move it on now.
Yeah, let's as fast as we can.
Let's get that away from the Sesame Street / Muppet gutters as quickly as we can and move on to football. Denver taking on the Washington Redskins, another controversial as the Redskins name. Not quite as controversial as Dirty Kermit, though. No. Denver took on Washington Redskins 45-21 as Denver got the win. I was sweating it a little bit. It looked like Washington might be that team that snuck in there and caught them off guard and got a win whenever they shouldn't have. I don't think Washington should have even been as close as they were in this game, but the first half, I was sweating it out a little bit. I thought Catfish was going to keep them in there against Peyton.
This game got away from Washington in a hurry. I mean, Washington had the lead with what was it, right, going into the fourth quarter? I mean, it was right there on the borderline, and next thing you know, you look up, and they're down 3 touchdowns.
That was Tom Brady-esque right there.
Unbelievable. I thought that Washington looked decent on offense. I mean, everybody wanted to talk about how he's back and Robert Griffin's back, and he still doesn't look the same to me. I credit a lot of the success Washington had to their defense.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, they came to play.
Looks like the NFC East, all their defensive have been getting tired of being made fun of the whole beginning of the season. Have decided to step their game up, except for Jerry Jones, that horse's asses Dallas Cowboys. They still let 31 up on the board. So
I mean,
fuck you, Jerry.
It looked like Denver was just out. They were out of sync. They were out of sync in the Indy game, and they started out of sync in this one. I mean, Manning's got two ankle sprains on the same leg. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying it's Denver out of sync. You got to start to wonder if that's those ankles making Manning out of sync, and if Manning's out of sync, everything's out of sync. If Manning's your quarterback, he takes over the team. Like everything runs through Manning. So if he's not right at all, like that team's gonna go down like a sinking ship. You just got to hope he recovers from that ankle. I heard one of the ankles is actually a high ankle sprain, and those are rough to come back from, especially in the cold weather. Those will start acting up even more for his cold weather blues that he has.
Yeah, and if he starts holding the ball any longer than he currently is, he's going to start taking some sacks because the offensive line is just in shambles. The only thing really keeping it together and pass protection-wise is Manning's quick release. Their tackles are not playing very well.
And his pre-snap recognitions pretty much get him into situations where it's going.
Yeah, and then another major problem I have with Denver, and not just because he's on 3 or 4 of my fantasy teams, but
that's why.
That's not really. I mean, it is why
he's taking this shit personally during the game.
It's why I get
yelling
mad.
At the screen like it's a Vikings game.
Yeah, it's why I get mad, but it's just dumb coach logic. You watch these games sometimes, and you wonder what's going through a coach's mind, like what's pulling. Is Noshawn not practicing hard or what? Because the guy gets the ball, and he's a freaking weapon for this team. I mean, he's undervalued he's completely overshadowed by anybody who talks about the NFL. If you watch Denver games, which we were talking about this Sunday, we watch a lot of them because they're always in the most watched game of the week. But Noshawn Marino, when he touches the ball, he's a weapon, and they keep insisting upon trying to replace him with other running backs. You got a practice squad.
Worked out well with Hillman, huh?
C.J. Anderson. You got Hillman costing them games. Fumbling the ball. And, I mean, I got no problem with him trying to work Monty Ball in a little bit.
Monty Ball now playing that role.
He's a solid rookie, but, I mean, it kills me because he'll beast them all the way down the field, and they'll get inside, like, the 15-yard line, and then they'll try to run it. And no. And then what do? They bring Noshawn back in the game, and then he runs it in for a touchdown, or they throw it to him. You know what I mean?
It's like he has some kind of incentive in his contract where if he gets a certain amount of touchdowns, they got to pay him an extra $1 million or $2.
It must be. I mean, it's not just around the end zone either. I mean, they keep they keep taking him out for a drive at a time and and spelling him. I mean, I don't know if they don't believe he's an every down back, but I know that he has been consistently playing very well this year, and I don't understand why they're so insistent upon not giving him the load.
Yeah, he's basically a top 5 running back in fantasy football, especially PPR leagues. He knows how to block. He knows how to pick up blitzes for Peyton. He seems like a perfect running back for the Denver Broncos, and they keep finding reasons to take him out of the game. I understand, like you said, with Monty Ball, you drafted him with a high draft pick. You want to get him in the game, see what you got there. But Ronnie Hillman, he couldn't hold him to the ball in preseason, and he cost you a game. Why was he even in that situation? He never proved that he was a better running back than Moreno to even be in that game.
There's another thing, too, that I want to touch on. I mean, I know I'm kind of slamming Denver here, but, I mean, they've looked sloppy a lot this season. They can overcome that with their talent that they have. I mean, Manning playing on the level that he's playing at can hide a lot of deficiencies. But John Fox has kind of got a little bit of a pass in the sense that they've looked disorganized a lot, and he, I mean, I know they're winning games, and it is what it is. But I mean, we're talking about bigger picture for the Denver Broncos here. You start getting in the playoffs, and you start making the kind of mistakes that they make
with good teams,
with turnovers and missed assignments and whatnot, and it's going to get you beat in the playoffs. So I know everybody's probably thinking, they're listening to this thinking, well, you're kind of being a little hard on John Fox. Well, really I'm not. I mean, because when it comes time to win the big games, they're going to have to ratchet that up, and he needs to get a little bit more discipline out of the team, if you ask me.
Speaking of winning big games, let's move it on now to your Minnesota Vikings. They're winning big games all year, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Big game here. They definitely – well, they didn't really win. It was Green Bay Vikings. I predicted them to win in my upset special. It didn't quite happen. I mean, they came out and – my co-host here isn't wearing a bag on his head, so they at least represented themselves, came out with a little bit of fire. 44-31 was the final score. What was your impressions from the game, Steve?
It is what it is. Green Bay whooped our ass to the more talented team. That's just how the only way you can really wrap it up. I mean, I didn't think the Vikings played terrible in this game.
Aaron Rodgers, I've always said he's got the best arm in the league. He was throwing passes that were so well placed. It was going between defenders' ear holes. It was going between their shoulder and the ear hole of their helmet to get through for touchdown passes. I mean, if you can throw like that, there's no defense for it.
Yeah, I mean, you asked me in preseason, when Greg Jennings was talking about Aaron Rodgers, how you talked about how you thought that I would like that kind of stuff, and this is exactly why you don't piss off a guy like Aaron Rodgers, because I mean, he basically said after the game that he was not going to let him lose this game. I mean, he came in, he dialed in, and he was throwing balls that. I mean, our defense couldn't get off the field, don't get me wrong, but there was at least 3 balls in key moments of this game on big third downs and stuff, and near the end zone where we could have held him to a field goal where Aaron Rodgers just put the ball on a dime. I mean, and the receivers, made the play. The DBs were right there, but I mean,
it's indefensible when he's got that kind of placement.
No.
I've never seen him in his career throwing passes like that. The one through the ear hole and the touchdown pass was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it was great defense. I mean, you can't even blame the Vikings DBs for being lost on that one. Whenever you do your job and you still give up a touchdown, you just kind of sit there and shake your head like, this game just ended. When's basketball season start?
Exactly.
Didn't the Rockets get Dwight Howard?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, the Vikings are a bad team. They probably won't win many more games. Their schedule coming up is brutal. Their pass defense, I mean, it's just bad. I mean, it's not
even when quarterbacks aren't throwing through the ear hole of defenders, it's bad.
Well, it's scheme. A lot of it's scheme. I mean, you got linebackers guarding Jordy Nelson on a 3rd and 3.
I hate zone defense.
You got of course the Packers are going to spread them out. They know. Mike McCarthy's not an idiot. He knows where to attack the team. I mean, I thought Greenway played solid coverage on Jordy Nelson. I mean, it was another one of those throws where Aaron Rodgers put it right on the money, but it is what it is at this point. I feel like we have the talent to start over. If we could just, if we could get a quarterback, I don't think we're that far off. I mean, in the NFL, it doesn't. There's we said it all along. There's not much difference between being really, really bad. I mean, there's not that we're going to be really, really good, but I think we could be a playoff team if we just add a quarterback and add some coaching staff that's got a little creativity to it. I mean,
if any team looks like the Chiefs of this year, it would be the Vikings.
Yeah,
a team that went from 2 wins to now undefeated over a year. I mean, they've got the talent around them. They just need to find that quarterback that can keep them in games. I think they need a new offensive coordinator personally.
Yeah,
Bill Musgrave
it's a problem.
is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, he is a problem. He has no creativity. You know, you got a guy like Cordero Patterson, who every time he touches the ball, it looks like it's
He may break for 40
yeah,
yards.
I mean, and you're not in your Joe Webb is getting more snaps. A fifth string quarterback off.
That's your
bench.
your bullpen closer. What are you talking about?
I mean, it's absurd. It really is. I mean, and then you flip the other side of the coin, and you got defensive strategy that I just can't wrap my mind around. That it's just the coaching staff has lost all faith at this point, and they all need to be. It's a shame. I like continuity. I like having a coach that's been with us for a while and everything, but because it just helps your team. It just does. When you starting over all the time with new coaching staffs and new schemes and stuff, it just doesn't seem to work very well.
The only time that I would recommend any time a change like that is when you're changing quarterbacks. So if you're changing quarterbacks, that's the time to do it.
Yeah, now's the time. I think Spillman's going to be safe. I think he should be safe. I think a lot of Vikings fans are being real hard on Spillman because the team's bad.
I think he was GM of the year last year, so I mean I'm not that quick to throw him under
No,
the bus. And
you
I still think the 3 picks that the Vikings made this year are going to turn out good
I've
for
got
him.
no beef with any of them. Sharif Floyd.
Unlike our GM, Howie Roseman.
Yeah, I mean Cordero Patterson.
Wish that guy
Rose,
would blow his brains out.
all those guys are going to contribute. So I think you give Spillman a chance to hire his own guy. We're spending way too much time on a team that's got one win.
We're gonna spend more time on him now because we got our Viking Norse warrior Odinson who's gonna give his thoughts on the Packers game. This isn't gonna be pretty.
Brandon of Ward, you again ask the Odinson his thoughts on the disgraced Vikings? These dishonored warriors don't deserve the thoughts of a god. They are unworthy of thy name. They are unworthy. I shall smite Bill Musgrave. Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers? The Odinson has had enough of these pathetic mortals. Handel, open thy bifrost so thou may leave this cursed realm and return home to the lands of Asgard to smash thou fist into thy face of a fire demon. Ah!
Thank you, Odinson, for your thoughts on the Vikings game there. It sounded like he was just breaking a lot of shit. Kind of like you during that Vikings game.
More mad than me. I'm mellowed out at this point.
Is Odinson in your family bloodline?
I'm looking for Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, we're looking for him in Philly too.
No, we're looking for him first. We're worse.
Gonna move it on now to another team, Detroit or New England, Miami. They're never looking for a quarterback in New England. You got Tom Brady. That just makes me sick every time I watch Tom Brady bring the New England fans always act like they're worried in the third quarter because they're down 14 points, and then Tom Brady literally has them 14 points in, I don't know, a minute 8 in game time. What do you do it in? I don't know. I know one guy that knows how long it took him to bring them back, and it's our New England Patriots correspondent, Chris Cupples. We call him Gimp. Gimp, what do you think about the game?
I was definitely worried in the third quarter, sir. Going in with 3 points in a whole half,
I guess coming off that previous game where they only put up like 6 points, I guess you were kind of worrying.
Two divisional games in a row and the potential to lose both of them. Yeah, I was a little.
Miami imploded in the third quarter of this game. Just absolutely imploded.
In like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Well, it was essentially the tale of two halves. I mean, the fact that they abandoned their run game in the second half really surprised me a lot. And I mean, I don't even have really much of an answer for it aside from maybe a rallying speech from Belichick during halftime. But the thing I thought was funny was he held out Stephen Ridley and Logan Ryan, who is a rookie cornerback. And as soon as those two guys came in the game, I mean, things completely changed. Stephen Ridley the offense is completely different with Ridley on the field. Brandon Bolden, I mean, he's quality and Gary Blunt is garbage as far as I'm concerned. I know that's hateful, but whatever.
No, better not let him hear you say that, or he'll punch you.
He'll punch you in the face.
He'll punch me straight out.
Yeah, I thought. Well, what I saw in New England, like you said, it's a tale of two halves. And actually, our correspondent for the Dolphins, Jason Dill, he texted me during the second half, and he just couldn't believe why are we not running the football. I mean, we ran it at will in the first half, and then the second half, I didn't watch every snap, but I mean, Miami just looked like a completely different team from the first half to the second half.
Yeah, whatever they were doing in the first half, they didn't continue in the second half because they totally went away. They were dominating this game the first half, like we said, and had New England worried, and then New England became New England. Tom Brady did what he does.
Yeah, I mean, you got to run. If you're Miami, you got to try to run the ball a little bit because their offensive pass protection on Tannehill is terrible. They have no offensive tackles whatsoever. New England made them pay in the second half of that.
We had six sacks in the second half of the game.
That's right.
And that was a season high. The defense really stepped it up as far as the second half is concerned. Without Talib in the game, I mean, I thought that was going to be. I thought Wallace might get open a little bit with Arrington or Denard covering him, but he was not essential as far as is concerned. Like I said, Logan Ryan, once he got into the game, he had two sacks, one for a strip fumble, and then he had another pass deflection and then near interception, and then of course the McCourty tip drill to Cole was
nice.
Was uncanny. I mean,
that was nice.
And Belichick said after the game, he said, "You don't teach that." He said, "That's just instincts. Those two guys, they played it right."
It's what playmakers do. You just have those genes or you don't.
Well, the funny thing about Cole is we've released him 3 times in the past 3 weeks. He's one of those guys that bobs in and out of the roster.
He's the new Troy Brown of the New England Patriots. Yeah. He's gonna be playing on offense and defense soon.
Hopefully, I might give it a little spark there.
Hey, speaking of sparks, you no longer worry about Vince Wilfork going down because the Eagles sent you Jesse Sapago, who is a huge bust. We signed him and basically traded him for the closest amount as you can to nothing. That's legally not nothing. We traded him in a 6th round for a 5th round.
Yeah, I was wanting to ask
getting
you
the hell out of our team so Vinny Curry can play.
I was wanting to ask you about him if he was anything to be
He's
excited
garbage.
about him. Oh, well, that's
there
great.
It is. You heard it here first.
You talk about defensive tackle spot. Chris Jones is a rookie, and he came in the game. He had 2 sacks, and he's stepping up. I mean, being a rookie, he's just now getting his legs underneath him as far as the speed of the game is concerned. But I'd like to see him his progress continue. And then Nikovic had he recovered the fumble that Logan Ryan forced, and he's leading the league in fumble recovery since 2010. So I mean that's exciting. And like I said, I might be the only Patriots fan that's going to sit up here and preach about our defense. And now they've stepped up. I mean, Brady was 116 yards and a touchdown. I mean
you have to praise the defense. The offense has been pretty non-existent. I mean, even with Brady.
Now that the offenses are getting their weapons back, the defense is losing all their weapons.
Yeah, the defense is banged up bad.
What are they talking about with Talib? I think he's the most important guy on defense.
He was questionable. He was day-to-day going into this game, and I guess they felt they could do it without him. They held him out, but I definitely see him coming back next game.
I think he's coming back this week.
I thought it was weird that Amendola went ahead and played this game. We say, and you guys have both said, he's injury prone, and he's definitely rivaling Mr. Glass. Cindy Rice. Yeah, but I mean the kid's got heart and he's tough. He's out there playing with a groin strain. I mean that's something that you might need surgery for.
Got knocked out like the game before that with the groin strain. Dude takes some vicious shots. I don't know if it's because of the way he plays. He's one of those guys that always takes the risk running over the middle. One of those little Wes Welker type guys. I mean he's just one that pays for it.
I'd like
Austin Collie, who y'all also have.
We also have on the roster.
Austin Collie, who doesn't know his name.
I would love to have a trivia game with those two.
That'd be amazing. Add Troy Aikman as the host.
No, that's money. Somebody booked that for this podcast right now.
Next week.
Troy Aikman hosts Jeopardy with Celebrity Concussion Edition.
Simple questions like, where are your car keys? And they'll be like,
what day is it?
Did you guys see the pictures of Brady's hand?
No.
Going into the game?
No.
Oh, you didn't see anything about it? It looked like he stuck his hand in a beehive. I mean, it was swollen. You couldn't see the indentions in the knuckles on his. It was on his right hand. It was on his throwing hand. And he was questioned on it after the game, and he said it was perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine. But
sounds like Undead Al bit him.
It kind of looked like Undell had bit him, but I mean that's something they're going to say that they could have potentially been fined for not disclosing on the injury report.
That's how the Patriots roll, man. They'll tell you Tom Brady's got a bad shoulder for 10 weeks. Dude's never had a bum shoulder in his life, and
on
then
the injury report
have
for like 3 straight years,
hand, and you'll never know about it.
The funny thing is that he was on the injury report for no reason for 3 straight years. They took him off, and he got injured that game. Football guys.
Karma Belichick.
Speaking of karma, let's go ahead and kick it to Aaron Hernandez down in the county lockup. Last time we heard from him, he was getting let out of our studio by the probation officer. Let's see what's up with old Aaron Hernandez.
Yo, what's cracking? It's that killer that went from the Super Bowl to being locked up in the hole, Aaron Hernandez, checking in on the Displaced Diehard podcast. Now, first and foremost, I would like to thank the Displaced Diehard podcast for getting me out of my cell and having me in the 2420 studios for the Halloween show to make my predictions with Kenny the Snake Stabler. As for that wannabe kid correctional officer that dragged your boy here out before I was finished making my picks, let's just say he was handled. He was offed. He was outed. Terminated. Unloaded even. Don't mess with a gangster like me, son. Blood run deep, kid. And we will find you. You cannot hide from us. Psych, not really. I just had my boy Mike Pouncey give a crackhead a 40 rock to kill that pig. Now that pig is straight Tebow, son. Ghost mode. What you know about that? Now moving on to bigger and better things. My New England Patriots. We played in the Miami, Florida area. Now when I was on the team and we played in Miami, I was so angel dusted by game time that I thought I was battling real porpoises in the ocean during game time. That shit was crazy, son. But even without my dolphin fighting expertise, the Patriots do what we do. We killed it. That's just how we get down in New England. We kill it. But anyway, my Seroquel, PCP, and Pruno mix is now kicking in. I can barely hold my eyes open, so I'm going to check out right now. Until next time, this is Aaron Hernandez, the tight end that might make your life in, saying,
Hernandez, for your thoughts on the New England versus Dolphins game, and I think he just implicated Mike Pouncey a little bit again there. He's getting hit, that boy in all kinds of trouble.
Pouncey's probably already in jail at this point.
Speaking of trouble, let's move it on to my favorite team, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, taking on the Detroit Lions, and they lost how only the Dallas Cowboys can lose, 31-30 at the last second. I was loving every minute of it. I was severely depressed after watching the Eagles just atrociously get beat by the New York Giants, and then this game somehow brightened the rest of my day watching the Dallas Cowboys lose another game. Brian Billick was actually already showing like standings of the Detroit Lions after losing that game, and then Detroit comes back and wins. Of course, since he decided to be here to rub it in that his Cowboys beat my Eagles, we had to bring Riley back so I could rub this in his face. Riley, what'd you think about that game? I know you loved it. Did you have as much fun as I did watching it? Were you cheering at the end of it?
He's speechless.
Were you giving Matthew Stafford a standing ovation like I was?
Well, it's really hard to deal with. It's just embarrassing to be a Cowboys fan. The Brian Billick, Dick Stockton thing, this is the God's honest truth. They should be freaking suspended, fired for their stupidity. How many times have they seen in their NFL careers somebody come from behind?
They'd apparently never seen a Dallas Cowboys game in their career.
I mean, Jesus, there was freaking a minute 7 seconds to go.
You were texting me the whole time.
And I told Steven, I was like, we're going to lose. We will find a way to lose. And Steve's like, no way. And I'm like, no. You haven't watched the Cowboys like I have. Trust me. They're going to lose. They're going to lose.
I've been in your shoes many a times, and people are like, no way. And then
my brother, my father, I mean, I had so many of my Cowboys family text to me saying, great win. I was like, the last play hasn't sounded yet. Let's see how this goes. And I'm like, we're going to lose. We'll screw it up somehow. And sure enough, you let a freaking rookie guy who made his first catch that day get a 40-yard catch down the sideline. And then, of course, don't even get me started on their coverage of Calvin Johnson. I mean, I know the guy's the best of all. I don't want to say all time.
They were covering Calvin Johnson? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's true. I never saw it either. But I think I texted Steve this or I posted on Twitter, but didn't they draft Morris Claiborne for games like this? They moved up for him to defend guys like Calvin Johnson, but instead
said he was a bust at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Ward did say that, and Steve and I both took up for
I was also
Morris.
I was also telling Steve the Vikings should have drafted him instead of Khalil a couple years ago.
Sure was.
I was off on both of those.
It's just, I mean, is he afraid of the moment? What's the deal? Why is Brandon Carr defending Calvin Johnson whenever he gave him a 10-yard cushion, and then after that, I mean, hell, they defended him halfway well until like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, and then he had that 80-yard slant, and it was all she wrote from there.
Got him going once he got that in there. Once he gets that adrenaline burst, it's hard to shut him down on the rest. I don't know what happened to Claiborne. Like I said, coming out of the draft, I thought he was a shutdown corner. I was telling Steve the Vikings should have got him. I wanted the Eagles to get him, and I'm glad they didn't know.
You're talking about a guy, though, in Calvin Johnson who's come into this game highly motivated due to Des Bryant. We'll get into that, his antics or whatever. But
I don't want to hear the word antics, please.
But I mean,
his childish antics coming up next.
Just like I said with Aaron Rodgers, you don't want to piss off a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You don't want to piss off a guy like Calvin, who's coming out obviously to make a statement. So, I mean, I don't care if you got the best cornerback in the league, Sherman, Revis, whoever you want. He's going to abuse whoever it is. When you get that kind of time that Stafford was getting to make those throws, it's hard for any cornerback to try to guard a guy like Calvin Johnson. I mean, you need 2 or 3 guys to stop Calvin Johnson. So, I think it was just Calvin coming out and saying, you know what, this is my game. You know, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make it happen. And Stafford, we've been hard on Stafford as well. He played a great game here. A lot of the mistakes that happened to the Lions in this game weren't on him. I mean, got guys fumbling the ball left and right. Calvin fumbled one.
That's what I said on Twitter after the game. I think Matthew Stafford took a couple steps up that quarterback ladder rung with that performance. The way he knew to bring everybody in, tell him he was going to spike the ball and then jump over the pile to get the touchdown. That was Dan Marino versus the Jets like.
I mean, inconsistency is his only problem. I mean, when he's on, I mean, his stats tell the story. I mean, this team is just I saw Riley tweeted it. He said something like the Lions are the NFC North version of the Dallas Cowboys, and I've been saying that all along. They're a team that's just so talented. This team is just got all the talent in the world. Now, they're not that talented in the defensive backfield, but everywhere else, this team is loaded. I mean, their offense is as talented as any. I mean,
their talent level is on the level with the Saints. Their offensive weapons they should be putting up 40 points a game.
And that's what I'm saying. They shoot themselves in the foot. They're inconsistent. They make stupid mistakes,
bad coaching,
penalties, and stuff like that. And it's a game like this that that'll help them turn the corner, and get the confidence. Stafford's play at the end where he jumped over I mean, that was all Stafford. I mean,
I love how Billick was trying to say that the whole team knew, and they were just going. You could tell, obviously, that none of them knew it.
Nobody moved, and it's like, that's a brilliant play because right there, you get the ball on the 1 yard line, and I know a lot of people might think, oh, that's a give me. They got the ball on the 1, but the clock is down. They
had no timeouts.
No timeouts. Your options are limited. What are you going to do? Are you gonna run the ball? And then what if you don't get it? And that's pretty much the end of the game. So then you're looking at a very small passing window of 10 yards to try to score there. I mean,
it's a lot more difficult to get Jacquay Bell to run in on a goal line defense than it is to have Matthew Stafford jump over and just cross the goal line.
Yeah, and leave it to us to just be standing there.
None of them had a clue like that could happen.
Spike. I mean, only me, the fat guy watching it from my house, screaming, he could sneak it, quit standing. I mean, even I'm sitting there saying, they're standing, quit. He could jump right over y'all.
Well, with all due respect to that comment, on the other side of the ball, so the Lions' offensive line was just standing there as well. So they did bait him into it.
You don't need to worry about
Not to mention they just ran like, pretty much 80 yards in about 7 seconds.
Stafford actually
right down the field on them.
Stafford actually kind of called out the Cowboys defense and said he noticed the Cowboys defense were just going through the motions and not paying attention, and that's what made him decide to do that.
They were. I mean, it was just a bad deal. The end of that game. It's hard to lose games. I've lost a lot of them the same way, so I know it's difficult to lose games like that.
The thing that I'm getting really sick of in the NFL, and I know Bill Belichick got a lot of slack for this a few years ago when they played the Colts. I think it was Manning's last year before he got hurt. But whenever you have the ball and there's a minute and a half to go, and you have one single play, and you have a quarterback like Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers, and you have one play and you have to get 4 yards, trust your quarterback to make that one play and end the game. Quit trusting your defense so damn much, thinking they're going to stop the opposing team when it's getting to be more common when they have comeback drives than they do defenses stopping the offense. And it's like,
Yeah, because coaches constantly do the same shit. They constantly go into this soft cover to try to keep teams from getting big plays, and they march
into rhythm.
Right now. You get a team. Any team with any competent quarterback can dink and dunk their way for 15 yards a chunk. You know, and you see the commentators like they've never seen it before. They're like, well, 15 yards isn't going to do it. Well, yeah, but when you run like 7 plays for 15 yards in a matter of 30 seconds, when you constantly just throw a pass and get out of bounds, it only takes like, 6 seconds to snap the ball and throw the ball 15 yards out of bounds, and you just repeat. And, I know the line's got a big chunk. That's not necessarily what they did, but, I mean, I agree with you 100%. When you got a quarterback in there, and they took the holding, and, it was only 3rd and short,
It was 4th and 5. I mean, they got that holding call on 3rd and 10, and Tanner got a 5-yard gain.
I mean, I don't know. In that situation, I think you have to kick the field goal there. I mean,
no, I don't. I mean, you have one play. You're up by.
I don't know. If you look at the game situation, Calvin Johnson has like 300 yards at that point.
Exactly.
You might want to keep the ball in your hands.
You're obviously not stopping them. The Lions should have scored 40 to 50 points. They moved the ball at will all day. We gave up 629 yards on defense. Fell to last place in the NFL. We're very proud of that. We're mediocre, and
You're worse than us.
Defense.
We're 31st.
It's just ridiculous. Monty Kiffin should be fucking hung outside of Philadelphia Stadium or somewhere because he's a piece of shit and he can't coach.
I'd gladly beat the shit out of him with a kendo stick like a pinata.
That would be the key to the Cowboys' success, and it's just not working. It's not panning out.
I mean, the Saints went from worst to 12th in defense right now, and the Cowboys are dead last.
With your old offensive coordinator, welcome to how I feel about Andy Reid.
But I mean, I don't know. I can't say that I would take Rex. I mean, Rob Ryan comes back or whatever, and it just didn't mesh well for him there. I mean, it wasn't working. He had a chance in Dallas, and he just wasn't getting the job done.
Yeah, their defense was just
the number
bad
one
then.
stat that I've repeated already once on this show, and that's last year they only gave up a 400-yard passer one time, and that was Drew Brees in December in an overtime game. This year, hell, every damn game except the Eagles game, they gave up a 400-yard passer, and the Eagles quarterback situation
to
is
be honest.
obviously
you look around
well.
You look around the league though, and and it's just common. I mean, you go up against a quarterback like Rodgers or Manning or Stafford, any of these high-powered offense, and they're throwing.
The defensive backs are so afraid to hit people and cover people that they're a huge disadvantage now. So I mean, the offense is just going to keep getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's also amazing to me how little Jerry Jones holds people accountable. I don't know if he's too worried about partying with Kenny the Snake Stabler or what, but
a lot of yacht parties going on.
It's just like Jason Garrett. He's going in his 3rd season. What's his overall record? He's 500. I mean, everything about this team is mediocre. Like, when are we gonna try to get somebody that we think can actually turn this team around? The Cowboys are a joke, and I'm embarrassed to be a fan, to be honest.
I think the one part of them that aren't mediocre is Des Bryant. We got to talk about it. His outburst on the sideline. I mean, he was going off on everybody. I like that passion if it's for the right reason, but whenever he was going off, y'all were up 20-10.
Yeah,
if you're that pissed off, you can't be pissed off because you're not getting the ball.
Because
you're winning the game. If you're winning the game, you can't be that pissed off. He was only pissed off because he wasn't getting the ball.
He was pissed off because the defense or the offense was just it was abysmal. I mean, they
were winning 20-10 at the time.
It doesn't matter. They were pathetic. They were playing terrible. Romo was forcing the damn ball to Terrence Williams. Granted, I know Terrence Williams has been everybody's new fresh star on the Cowboys, but Des Bryant is still a top 5 receiver in this league. And if Romo's going to force the ball to anybody, force it to Des.
Without seeing the game tape, I can't comment to say for sure. But I mean, in a situation like that, any time you're looking at it just from the outside, just not really knowing, you got to think that Des Bryant's going to be the one drawing the coverage, and Williams is going to be the one benefiting from playing across from Des Bryant.
Like we were saying with the Bengals with A.J. Green.
Right, more wide open. I mean, you're going to look at Des, he's double covered. You're going to look at Williams, you're going to let it go, and that's just – and that's, to me, that's why I would think that he'd be covered that much. Now, I don't know. Maybe he's missing Des wide open and he's forcing it to Terrence Williams. I can't see that being the case, but if it is, I guess he's got some sort of beef. The beef that when he's yelling at Romo, I got no problem with it. It wasn't until the very end of the game, whenever he's just running up and down the sidelines. I don't know what exactly was going on, but you're getting in the face of guys like DeMarcus Ware and
Jason Witten.
2 guys that are the leaders of that football team, it just can't. It's not a good thing.
Marcus Ware had to be just sitting over there like, this is why I never miss games. So I don't have to deal with this BS over here on the sideline. He was playing like team mediator.
DeMarcus Ware put him in his place.
He was playing the Hugh Douglas role.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Dez is a beast, but you can't. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't even have a problem with him yelling at him if it's for the right reason. If you got that kind of passion, then you're that. I mean, that's what we always say when we're watching the game. I wish the players had as much passion and they're as pissed off as we are that we're losing this game. I mean, Dez Bryant, if he's pissed off because they're losing the game, but if you're that pissed off and you're up 10 points, I don't understand.
You have to think.
I have a question for you two, as fans of. As diehard fans as we all are in this table here, have y'all ever gotten that pissed off at your team, just like walking around cursing and being pissed off? I mean, he plays for them. Can you imagine how bad it pissed him off that the Lions were 31st coming into that game and Dallas couldn't move the ball if their life depended on it?
Yeah, remember when the Eagles lost to the Bucks in the last home game at Bet? Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Came in a daze, didn't even show up in the last game in your stadium.
I'm not gonna hate on his passion.
We should have won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
I got right over that, huh?
I mean, 2009 NFC Championship. Now, I'm not even gonna get into it, but if that's the case, then I absolutely agree. But I mean, there's a part of this on the surface that has to believe he's looking over at Calvin Johnson, who has 300 passing yards to his whatever, and it's making him mad because
he knows that's going to be the story on SportsCenter.
Right. He came out and said he was better, and Calvin was outperforming him, and it pissed him off.
One more thing about that, too, is the man was asked a question. Somebody asked him if he felt that he was as good as Calvin Johnson, and he answered honestly. Of course, the politically correct thing would have been said, well, we're both good receivers, blah, blah, blah. But no, he said what he felt. He thinks he's just as good, if not better. He also said that Calvin does things better than me, and then I do things better than Calvin. So, I mean, what did the guy really do wrong?
I don't think he did anything wrong.
He, of course, rattled Calvin's cage, which he lesson learned there. But,
yeah,
I mean,
I've got no beef with him saying he's the best.
If I'm a Dallas fan, that's what I want him to say.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Des Bryant's
the only problem
bad reputation is just so overblown. Like, just because the
whole. We'll have to call his mom and get her take on what she thinks about it.
Or maybe
that's true.
Maybe the security that Jerry Jones employs to follow him around so he doesn't mess up and get arrested. We'll get them on the show too.
We got to move on. We're gonna run out of time, and we can talk about this all day long.
While we got Riley here, though, we'll keep it in the NFC East
Go
and
ahead.
moving on to the Sling Blade Mannings. As you know, the New York Giants took on my Philadelphia Eagles and won 15-7. We couldn't turn over Sling Blade, but the actual only time we scored, we blocked a punt and ran it in for a touchdown. We got 15-7. Vic was in there for a quarter. He couldn't move. He had the mobility of Peyton Manning with 2 sprained ankles. That'd bring in Matt Barkley, and I would rather run a wildcat with no quarterback and just have like Shady out there occasionally throwing it to the tight end than Matt Barkley. He started his NFL career, the first 4 possessions that he was at quarterback, he turned them over all 4 times.
Yeah, it's not a good start to
Where the hell's
career.
Dennis Dixon? Bring him back.
I mean, Barkley looks like a
garbage.
Looks like a guy you would expect that fell all the way to the 4th round, and nobody wanted to take a chance on him. And he's in an offense that doesn't really. I don't know. I didn't understand why Philly drafted him to begin with. He's not a Chip Kelly type of quarterback.
No, I think he was one of those guys that you draft and hope that he turns into something you can trade him for a first-round pick later. And then now by midway through the season, he's your starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, I'm sure they didn't plan for that to happen, but. Yeah, this game was bad. I watched some of it at home. It was what it was. I mean,
the winning team had 5 field goals. Is pretty much sums up how bad this game was.
And the people and the New York Giants are turning the corner, ladies and gentlemen. They're right in the mix in the NFC East.
Yeah, their defense was there. They were all over it.
Give me a break.
We had one quarterback that couldn't run, and if Mike Vick can't run, then you don't want him just out there passing because he's not in the league because he can pass that well. Then you got Matt Barkley, who's 4 for 4 on turning the ball over his first 4 possessions. But that Giants defense showed up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing
NASCAR package.
The only thing you can credit this win too for the New York Giants is it puts them a little lower in the draft. That's pretty much it.
They're only 2 games out of first place, and God knows Dallas can.
You're not going to go there on me, are you? Have you been watching the Giants?
Oh, they're terrible.
They're awful.
Look at the Eagles. Look how bad they are, and look at how inconsistent Dallas is.
I think if the Eagles had a competent quarterback, they smoked this team out by about 30 points. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and Dallas is putting up 30 points. So, I mean, it's not like Sling Blade can manage that. Look at what Sling Blade did against the 31st ranked defense. He got 5 field goals.
We had Josh Freeman at quarterback, and we were in the game until the fourth quarter. The only reason why it got out of hand is because our punt returner dropped an interception and fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line. I mean, we had the worst quarterback performance in the history of the NFL, and we were in the game in the fourth quarter. So that tells
because
you
of how
anything
atrocious
about where
the Giants are.
Well, look at what we did.
Should have had 3 picks.
We got
in that game
5
of Eli.
turnovers off the Giants and only beat them by 5.
I mean, the Giants they have talent. Their receiving core is solid, and Eli Manning's got 2 Super Bowl rings. But I mean, when you're watching this team, you just don't get the feel that they're going to do anything.
It's all about the running game with them now.
I used to be the Vikings played them last year or a year before last with that offense. I would
I think that's what's missing.
I would have feared them, but now
the third down back especially they're missing that Ahmad Bradshaw guy. I think they were expecting David Wilson to step in there, and he got injured. And before he got injured, he was fumbling the ball, so they weren't even using him. I mean, you're using Peyton Hillis and Brandon Jacobs. Is it 2007?
These guys pull off the street. You can't do that. The Giants are what they
straight
are
out the insurance office.
Point. Don't expect. And I could be.
I'll
eat my words if I'm wrong, but I can tell you, I believe Washington with their record is closer to winning the NFC East than New York is, and that's saying a
with
lot.
Washington's running game. I agree with you that they could just quit letting Bob throw the ball because that's apparently where they struggle the most.
He's a passing quarterback now,
and let Halou and Morris run the ball and RG3 run out of the option, and they'll be fine.
I mean, the Giants played the 2 worst quarterback performances that I've seen all season in a row,
but they're back,
and they won the games. Well, they should have won them. I mean, if not, they might be the worst. They might be worse than Jacksonville if they didn't win those games.
Not so sure Alabama couldn't have won those games.
It's bad. I mean,
speaking of winning games, though, let's keep it moving. Going to move on to a winning team, and former Philadelphia Eagle, Kool-Aid Man, fat ass Andy Reid brought his undefeated Chiefs into Cleveland, stomped them out.
They're 8-0. I think they've won all 8 games at Arrowhead.
That game was actually at
Kansas
City.
Oh, was that at Kansas City?
It was at Kansas City. No,
I was just thinking they've been at Kansas City so much this year. They've had to be at Cleveland by now. Jesus Christ, no wonder they're undefeated. They left Kansas City yet?
I texted Jason, the Dolphins correspondent. I said, do they play every single game at Arrowhead? Like, are they 8-0 at home?
I know Andy Reid loves them some barbecue, and they got good barbecue there, but you got to draw his fat ass out of town sometime to play on the road.
I don't think they played a team with the winning record. I mean, maybe I'm just forgetting how well they started the season.
That was another game Dallas choked, too.
God, this is – I mean –
Dallas almost had a winning record until the last 4 seconds of that game. That'd have been a winning record.
It's like what Michael Smith said. If we go off moral victories, we're 8-0.
Jerry Jones is 8-0 right now. Then
I mean, I hate on the Chiefs weekly. And
no wonder he's such a pompous ass. He thinks he's 8-0.
I hate on the Chiefs weekly, but I mean, I take 8-0 in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong, but this team's not going to the Super Bowl. They're not even going to the AFC Champ. I mean,
they're not beating good teams.
I'm
in the
not
playoffs.
buying into them at all. Maybe I'm flat wrong on them. 8-0 is a pretty record. I know that, and they're playing the Bills this week, so they could be 9-0. But geez, I mean, I can't remember a worse 9-0 team in the history of the NFL.
Now, like I said earlier, Alabama's played a stronger schedule. This is the BCS. Alabama be ranked above KC at this point.
I mean, I don't know. Their defense, it is what it is.
I gotta say is be careful what you say, because one thing that you and Ward have been harping on for weeks is Peyton Manning and cold weather. Kansas City, with their defense and the way they run the football, they're meant for cold weather games.
They're built to play the Broncos.
If they have home field at Arrowhead in January, they can beat the Broncos. So to say they're not going to go to the Super Bowl, I mean, I
have no faith in Kansas City.
And look at Alex Smith too. He is the most winning quarterback in the NFL in the last 2 seasons. I mean, he does is win.
I don't see Alex Smith outdueling Tom Brady in the playoffs for them. Even if they do get past
I'm talking about Alex Smith
weather.
though with the San Francisco 49ers defense, which is a pretty stout defense, and Kansas City Chiefs defense, who hasn't given up over 15 points a game this season.
Did y'all see Joe Flacco outperforming Peyton Manning and Tom Brady last year?
No,
Hell no.
Absolutely not. And I mean, you got to give it to Alex Smith.
I wouldn't put Alex Smith in Joe Flacco category either.
But he did win that game for him versus New Orleans a couple years ago.
That's one in, 9 years?
In San Francisco. I mean,
that's one.
I'm talking about in the playoffs. I mean.
Yeah, that was a shootout, too.
That's pretty much the only game he ever won, though, even playoff or not. That it was on his arm. It's always on his defense. If Alex Smith, like you said, if he doesn't have a top-ranked defense, he's a very below-average quarterback win-loss.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Oh,
remember him in San Francisco.
I'm not going to go to bat
defense?
for him. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'd take Alex Smith in a heartbeat. Look at the quarter.
I'm assuming you're buying Denver. You're buying Denver for the Super Bowl at this point.
I don't know. I mean, Denver's starting to show flaws, and I think when the cold weather comes,
Yeah,
but I don't know who am I buying. I mean, it's wide open. I mean,
I'd have to go with the Patriots right now. As long as they got Belichick and Brady, I'm staying with them. As long as Gronk's still on the field.
I'm not buying their offense.
They've had too many games.
Shane Vereen's coming. Is already practicing and coming back. I think that's the solution to the running game woes.
New England. I mean, you can never bet against them, but. Let's go ahead and move on to the prediction segment. Everybody's favorite part of the show, except for Kenny the Snake.
Definitely your favorite part last week, as you checked in 12-1. I was 9-4 of my Week 8 predictions. That goes overall for the year. I'm 66-40. Steve Turner making a run here at 62-44.
Yeah,
got a barn burner.
Back.
Let's go to the games.
Let's do it. Let's go down to South Beach, home of King LeBron James, who debuts back in the NBA tonight, but that's for another
repeat.
That's for another show.
Witness.
We got the Miami Dolphins hosting Red Rocket. He's red hot in the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to roll with the red hot Cincinnati Bengals over the ice cold Miami Dolphins.
Give me the red hot quarterback over the inconsistent one. Give me the Bengals.
All right, let's go down to Jerry World. Oh boy, I don't really want to do this game.
If you take me there, I'm blowing it up.
My Vikings are going to roll into town. They still have Jared Allen. We still have Adrian Peterson, because we're never going to trade that guy, even for a Herschel Walker deal to Jerry Jones. But I'm going to have to roll with the Cowboys in this one. The better team is the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, man.
That's a shocker.
2 weeks in a row. That's like a Green Bay pick on my part.
I refuse to pick Dallas. If anybody's been watching this show, I've picked Dallas all year. I refuse to.
Wow. Okay, let's go up to Buffalo.
Fuck you, Jerry Jones.
We discussed this game already.
Horse's ass.
Buffalo Bills hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, the undefeated 8-0, worst 8-0 team in the NFL history, Kansas City Chiefs. And I can never remember their quarterback's name.
Ranked number 2 in the BCS.
Help me out. Thad Lewis.
Thad Lewis.
That's right, Thad Lewis.
Thaddeus.
He's going to get it done.
Lewis.
I'm taking the Buffalo Bills to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. How about that?
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
That's right. Now,
but I'm taking Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo. I just got finished saying I always take the better team. I've changed my strategy, and I lied. I'm taking Buffalo. Let's go up to Kermit's favorite team.
I can't continue to make hate picks.
you just did.
So I've got to.
You better back up and take Dallas.
That's what I mean. I went with one hate pick, so I had to go with fat ass Andy Reid with Kansas City winning.
You're good for one.
I can't just go on hate picks. You're starting to catch up here.
Gotcha. All right, let's go with the Kermit's team. New York Jets hosting the Hurricane Katrina New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take the Saints. Unfortunately, I have to go with the better team.
Give me the Saints in herpy-ridden New Orleans.
All right, Catfish. He's hosting the Washington Redskins. They're going to host the San Diego Superchargers. Looks like Catfish
is boys.
Starting to get a little better. Their defense is playing a little better. I'm going to roll with the Washington Redskins at home.
I am not going with the Redskins. I am going with Beans' team, the San Diego Superchargers.
West Coast, East Coast. West Coast, East Coast. I'm taking the Redskins. All right, let's go to my Carolina Panthers, home of Luke Kuechly, and they're facing the most.
You finally learned how to say his name right.
I did.
It was rough at the beginning.
Weeks of practice, baby.
Weeks
of practice. Where's the count? The count is missing in action. I bought a jug of milk, and I saw a picture of the count on there. I don't know where he's at.
He went Smash Mouth mode and started walking in the sun.
The guy's disappeared into thin air. He's a vampire. He lives forever. Maybe he'll be back next season.
I thought Mike Smith was gonna constantly burst into thin air there in the heat of Arizona last
evaporate.
week.
That's right. And what's his name came down to the sidelines.
And then the dust was going to turn into little bats and fly away.
Carolina at home. I'm taking them.
Give me Atlanta. They got to get off the schneid at some point. I'm sticking with them, and I want the count to come back.
All right, who's playing quarterback for the Eagles this week? I need to know before I make the pick. They're heading to the black hole to face the Oakland Raiders.
If Nick Foles is still injured, I'm hoping Dennis Dixon gets called off some team's practice squad because Matt Barkley is garbage.
I'm going to have to roll with Oakland Raiders just because I have no idea what's going on. Nick Foles may not even know where he's at this point. I'm going to take the Oakland Raiders.
As an Eagles fan, my soul will not allow me to pick the Oakland Raiders over the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me the sorry-ass Eagles.
All right, let's go up
Die,
to
Eagles, die. I mean, fly.
Seattle. 12th man. They're facing god-awful Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Shiano, I don't know how he still has a job, but I'm going to have to roll with the Seattle Seahawks for an easy one.
Yeah, this is Seattle at home, and Seattle at home is a totally different team. If Seattle was playing Tampa Bay on the road, I don't know about that. It's a little shaky now with that Seattle offensive line, but this is almost a gimme game in Seattle. Give me Seattle and the 12th man.
And Percy Harvin to return maybe this week.
And some good grunge music.
Let's go down to Cleveland. Drunk Bernie's there. He's probably drinking some Goldschlager.
And he's drunk.
Or some scotch on the rocks.
As he says.
Speaking of on the rocks.
Code word for Goldschlager.
How about Joe Flacco's play this season? They're hosting the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to have to roll with Flacco, I guess, in this one because I don't have a whole lot of faith in Jason Campbell.
Yeah, Jason Campbell he was being confused with your boy Josh Freeman last week by Drunk Bernie. I don't have a lot of faith in him either.
So you're taking Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore.
We're both rolling with Baltimore. All right, let's go up to New England. They're going to host the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an easy one for me. I'm not a Pittsburgh guy this year. They're just pretty awful, to be honest. But New England, I'm going to roll with Belichick.
I just basically picked New England to be in the Super Bowl and beat the Broncos and the Chiefs, so I guess I better pick them.
Pretty much saddled to them.
New England.
How about Case Keenum era? It begins in Houston as they're going to take on Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts at the Reliant Dome there. I'm going to have to roll with the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think they have a running back.
The Case Keenum era begins in Indy and ends at the end of the season when they draft the new quarterbacks. Give me the Indianapolis Colts, and because they've got their quarterback. They're the quarterback of the future, and I'm still pissed off that Jim Irsay is such a dick when he gets great quarterbacks.
Maybe we should
Where's the football gods on that?
Hey, well, maybe we should trade for Matt Schaub.
I'll take him right now over Matt Barkley.
We've got 3 guys in a rotation, and we got a decent closer in Joe Webb. We got to have that.
He is an All-Pro. He could be considered an ace of the rotation.
Maybe we'll make him an ace.
He's been to a few Pro Bowls. Does that make him an ace?
He had one good season like Josh Freeman and Matt Castle. I mean, let's bring him in. He can't hurt, right?
One-hit wonders.
Hey, how about it? Let's go down
to y'all make an album while you're at it.
My favorite place. They love me up here. I'm celebrated. I think I have a statue in front of the stadium. Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers. My Green Bay Packers. I love them. Cheesehead for life. They're hosting another team I love dearly. Unfortunately, they're going to be missing their quarterback due to lower midsection problem, Jay Cutler. Green Bay Packers play host to the Chicago Bears, and obviously you got to roll with Green Bay. I think they don't have a quarterback in Chicago.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Aaron Rodgers after watching that performance. But there's one guy in Chicago, Michael Bush. Where did he go to college? From
Louisville.
There you go, but it's still not enough to make me pick it. I'm going with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers to get the win.
Yeah, I can't believe Caleb Haney can go into Green Bay and get a win.
I thought it was Danny Cannell.
Danny Cannell has not won a game since he played at Florida State in the early 90s. But let's go ahead and moving on to the last game on the schedule this week, a game that local fans have a lot of interest in. The St. Louis Rams, every St. Louis Rams fan hasn't jumped off the bandwagon.
No one in St. Louis has any interest in this game. You're watching the World Series.
They still have their Kurt Warner jerseys on and holding on to hope.
Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, they're
Torrey
playing
Hope.
host to the old Bills, Tennessee Titans. I'm going to roll with the Titans at home because Brett Favre isn't walking through that door there, Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, Kellen Clemens is, unfortunately. That's never good.
Unfortunately. Ask Drunk Bernie about Kellen Clemens.
That's never good for you. That's never good for you. And if that's
top scout.
If that's not enough for you, the Tennessee Titans defense is legit, and I'm not going to pick against them with Kellen Clemens being
that St. Louis defense
biggest,
is legit,
the
too.
biggest
offensive
threat. Yeah, I'm going to go Jake Locker over Kellen Clemens, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No question.
Give me Tennessee.
Yeah. Now, let's go ahead and get a take from a guy who may not have a clue about anybody who's playing this game, but he's going to try to give you who's going to win the game between a Ram and a Titan.
Natural Fighting League, baby. Woo!
Hello once again, and welcome to this week's installment of the Casual Fan Report here on the Displaced Diehards podcast, available for download through iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and can also be seen on YouTube and every Saturday night on Time Warner Cable, Channel 72 in Owensboro, Kentucky. It's only here on this program that you can get in-depth analysis on the Natural Fighting League from me, the Casual Fan Reporter, every week, allowing you to get ahead in all of your fantasy leagues as I break down the vicious battles that are to take place. Although I must admit, I've never really gotten into the whole cosplay thing or dressing up as a way to accentuate my fantasies, let alone joining a fantasy league where all my deepest, darkest desires are put on showcase for all to see. I'm just private, I guess. Oh well, at least that doesn't hold me back from making spot-on predictions like my pick from last week. Just like my parole officer and psychiatrist say, it takes a thief to know a thief, and that's how I was able to pick the Raiders to win. Just real quick, I want to give a little shout-out to my homie Jake Quick over there in the south side of Oakland. Much love, pimp. Anyway, this week's tough call matchup takes on the task of reining in the power of the gods, literally, as the Tennessee Titans go over to St. Louis to fight some Rams. Really? Rams? First of all, let me just say, there is no way in hell a bunch of woolly, stank-ass horned sheep are taking out the Titans. They're the Titans, people. They're like gods or something, able to rain down fire and brimstone and call upon the elders of time to do their bidding or whatever the hell it is they do. And with that, I'm taking the Titans to win big. All I know is that Rams smell, poop, and just go on and on with buy this and buy that. Now, I'm not one to promote cruelty to animals, but damn it, some ram steaks and an ice-cold beer sound pretty good to me right now, and I'm pretty sure one of those Titans knows how to hurl a lightning bolt so I can get my steak cooked just right. Aside from my hunger and the taste for well-cooked meat, the battle itself is a joke. Foul-smelling beasts attempting to do battle with immortals is just Fruit Loops, I tell you. I mean, the Edward Jones Dome is big, but not big enough to contain these soldiers of the heavens. The Rams don't stand a chance, man, when these angry celestial beings start doing their work. Anyway, this is the Casual Fan Reporter saying, keep listening, keep watching, and above all else, bring a bib and a drop cloth, because this weekend, it's going to be all-you-can-eat ram ribs in St. Louis. Later. How much you want to bet those Tennessee Titans had banjos strapped on their backs and missing teeth? Why would the gods relocate to Nashville? Seems odd.
Thank you, Casual Fan, for your Natural Fighting League report. Going to keep it moving now, move on to the Fantasy Start-Sit section of our program. I'm going to kick it off with my first start of the week. I got Keenan Allen, the San Diego Supercharger wide receiver, taking on that horrid Washington defense. Go ahead and start Keenan Allen.
I'm going to go with my number one start this week, and comes as no surprise against my horrible Viking linebacking core / secondary. I'm going to start Jason Witten this week. Any competent tight ends has killed us all year. Our linebackers can't cover.
And coming off that last game he only put up 4 points in the PPR league. So, I mean, people might have been wavering on if they should try to find some other option. Maybe there's too many weapons in Dallas, and he's starting to fall out. But Steve's saying
we'll get him healthy.
Steve's saying there's a purple lining there.
Yeah, we'll get him.
The Vikings.
We'll get him healthy. Don't worry.
Moving on to number 2 now. I got another wide receiver for you. Golden Tate versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cindy Rice, the man made of glass, is once again broken. He's got an ACL out for the rest of the year until Percy Harvin gets back. Golden Tate's going to be their only option. Pick him up, start him.
I'm going to piggyback off that, and for some reason I've just got a sneaking suspicion this guy's going to play this week. If he doesn't, Golden Tate will be a good option, but Percy Harvin, I mean, I have a sneaking suspicion this is the week that we get some Percy Harvin.
That'll just bring even more joy into the Vikings fans' lives.
Yeah, that's what we made fun of him for draft. You know,
at least Jared Allen won't be there alongside of him.
Yeah, yeah. I would have taken a second from Seattle for Jared Allen. I'm just
for God's sakes, yes, you've been trying to ship him out of town for the last 5 years for like a third-round pick.
Kidding me?
That was only like 25.
That'd have been a steal.
Definitely take a second rounder now.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to my third and final pick. The guy's been like in 4 consecutive weeks here. You got to listen to me. Pick him up. Terrence Williams. He's getting so many looks. He's pissing Des Bryant off.
Yeah.
And he's playing the horrid Minnesota defense.
That's right. I mean, we can't get off the field. We haven't forced a punt since 1997 at this point. But I'll start Josh Gordon. I know some people might have jumped off the wagon with him because he wasn't putting up numbers with Whedon. It looked like he has a little bit of rapport with Jason Campbell. I benched him in a couple leagues last week, and he put up big numbers with Campbell. So don't put Gordon on the bench.
Now that he doesn't have to deal with the trade rumors, you got to think he might be a little more focused in on being a Brown and trying to increase his stats for next year.
Thank God Francis
get on a better team for next year.
Francis listened to us, and he didn't trade him. Thank God.
Moving on to the sits now, the guys that I don't see scoring a lot of points. Starting it off, you got Stevie Johnson taking on the Kansas City defense. They're stout, and Thaddeus Lewis, the previous mentioned Thaddeus Lewis, is still Stevie Johnson's quarterback, so I'm bitching him.
Hey, Thad's play some ball now. Keep your eyes. That's my upset
boy
of the
Thad,
week, baby. The Buffalo Bills, be ready. Now, my number one sit this week is going to be Brandon Marshall. I don't know if, I don't know what I'm getting.
Jay Cutler still has an injured dick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to roll with, our correspondent's opinion with Jay Cutler. I mean, he's on the show. He gives us great insight. And Brandon Marshall's a Pro Bowl quarterback with Jay Cutler in in Denver, in Chicago. Miami, he wasn't. So I'm going to roll with Jay Cutler's opinion and bench Brandon Marshall this week. And don't forget Kristen Cavallari. He's a Pro Bowler with her, too.
Keep it moving now to number 2, another wide receiver. This is an all-wide receiver edition of Start Sit from my picks. I'm going to go with Torrey Smith versus Cleveland because of the Joe Hayden effect. I think he's the best cornerback in the league right there over Richard Sherman. And I think he's a better cover corner than Richard Sherman is. I think Sherman's better on tackling and things like that. But Joe Hayden shuts people down, and the Baltimore offense hasn't gotten on track yet. Ray Rice has been null and void, and every other Joe Flacco has been null and void for the most part. The only thing that's been noticeable about Joe Flacco is that $100 million contract that he has.
Yeah, Kenny the Snake will tell you about that every time. Number 2 on my list is Harry Douglas. He came out with a big game. That one game seemed like kind of a mirage. I mean, I don't know who else he has to throw to, but I'm just not. I can't buy it. Versus the Carolina defense, they're not giving up very many points at all.
He catches a lot over the middle, and that's your boy Luke Kuechly's range there.
Destroyed out there. The offense looked horrible versus a really good Arizona defense. So I'm going to go ahead and I got to roll with somebody else until Harry Douglas proves otherwise.
My third and final, he's a top 10 fantasy PPR wide receiver this year. Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's taking on the Patriots, and Bill Belichick takes away your best weapon on offense, and I think Antonio Brown's the best weapon they got. They're not like the New York Jets where they're so horrible on offense that you can't figure out who's their best weapon. I think you can identify Antonio Brown as the best weapon and shut him down, so bench him.
Yeah, I'm going to bench any Tampa Bay wide receiver. I mean, if you haven't already. Glennon actually has put up decent numbers. But
Displaced Diehards favorite, Mike Glennon.
That's right. I'm not throwing Glennon out of into the fire yet. I'm sure
Stephen A. Turner would much rather have Mike Glennon than Josh Freeman at this point.
Yeah, hell yeah, I would. Shiano cut the wrong guy. But Tampa Bay versus Seattle corners, it's just a no-win situation there.
Well, that's going to bring it into the Fantasy Sit segment of this podcast. It's also going to bring it into the podcast itself. You can download a new edition of the podcast every Friday at DisplacedDiehards.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Diehards Podcast, like us on Facebook /DisplacedDiehards. You can listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And as always, you can catch the TV show every Saturday, 10 p.m., Time Warner Cable, Channel 72. Yippee-ki-yay.
Skeeter Dickin.
Displaced Diehards.
Displaced Diehards.
I am a Displaced Diehard.
I am a Displaced Diehard. We are Displaced Diehards.